The following program contains coarse language, a lot like real life. Viewer discretion is advised.
Brother Mayhem. I see Brother Chaos already in the audience. Love you. Ed Contini, for those of you out in the chat and stuff. Go ahead, fuck with him. He likes it. Since I already did my disclaimer right off the bat and stuff like that, I can just start my shows off with, a little fuckity fuck right off the bat. Because it's Dancing with Wolves, and wolves tend to use questionable language. And again, this is the old running joke for anybody who knows me and has been following me. I tend to channel George Carlin a lot. I think he was dead on back in the day, and I think it's even more fucking relevant now. So tonight's episode 91, The Mind of Gia Gia. My sister Gia is finally going to dance with us. She's been a friend of Shy as I now for a couple of years. Really, really great woman. She was part of the early dynamics of the tracks, the album that I released. She was somebody that was behind the scenes, somebody that gave not only her honest and loving support, but also her honest insight. And it's something to be treasured. It's something that we should always keep in mind, that the people who give of themselves around us, they don't fucking have to. Let's be honest about it. They don't have to. But when you find people that do, they are a precious commodity and they are worth holding on to. So part of what I've done for several years now with this podcast, part of what I'm doing with the radio show with guys like Ed and Brian Judah and Brian Masla and Logan and Steve Litvak and a whole bunch of others, is to give something back, but to support some of those other elements. yeah, most of us and all of the people that I mentioned, coincidentally, we all happen to be musicians too. So what better way to have a nonprofit radio station run than with a bunch of fucking musicians? Just saying. Special shout out to the witches in our lives, Shia, Bativia, and Diane, a.k.a. Lillian, known as Emporium. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. Whole bunch of people, really, that have been incredibly supportive in what we're doing. Got a shout out to my brother Bear and his family over there, Mary Jane's over the Tonawanda Reservation, Bassam, New York. They are one of my first true underwriters in helping to bring this stuff out here. And yeah, the name obviously says what it says. Listen, it's legal in New York now. It's legal in a lot of places over the country. So for those of you, for whatever your reasons, okay, and I'm the first one to say, and I've said it before, and I'm going to fucking say it again. If you got to make a choice between the pharmaceutical companies and Mother Nature, fucking Mother Nature every time. Context, hashtag Contini context, for those of you playing the home version of the game, okay, means that anything, if taken out of said context, can theoretically be bad. So you can OD on Twinkies, okay, just as badly as you can on anything else. Now, we tend to demonize certain things, but in the scheme of things, if you're talking to somebody with a terminal illness or somebody who's dealing with epilepsy or any number of analogies, stress, anxiety, whatever the case, let me tell you something. Mary Jane is always better, okay? The worst scenario I've ever heard in regards to, when somebody smokes too much weed is basically, they shit themselves or they murder a bag of Doritos. You know what I mean? Now, I'm not getting into the edibles and some of the other higher potency type of stuff. That's a different ballgame. But it's all the more reason that if you're going to involve yourself in this, you want to deal with somebody who knows what the fuck they're doing and actually cares. And what better place than going back to the source? Okay, Bear and his people knew this stuff before any of us fucking showed up here. Brother man is in tune not only with the land, but within the spirit, the dynamic. He will not put anybody at risk for a fucking buck. So he goes out of his way beyond the regulations and the dynamics that everyone else has got to play. And then the only benefit that my brother's got is, guess what? Fuck the government, because he don't got to pay taxes. But guess what? That's good for you too. So when you go out to the reservation there and you buy from them, you're supporting them maintaining elements of their lifestyle, their community, their heritage, their philosophies, their lore, and you're not paying taxes. You're saving money. So it's a win-win situation. So yeah, Mary Jane's, go check them out. Bunch of other cool things that are going to be going on, and I'm going to pop them out real quick here before I go let my sister Gia out of the shadows. As mentioned, my brother Ed Contini in the audience. He's got a show Thursdays on WRFZ, old school radio, but very cool indeed. And yes, as brother Ed says, shooting yourself is not always a bad thing if done strategically. That's the Contini context, and that's coming from the Contini himself. That's coming from the source, the man, the myth, the legend, Ed Contini. You can check him out, RochesterFreeRadio.com. You can listen for free unless you're up here in the range of the fucking radio station, and it's 106.3 FM. But a really great show, Thursdays, 3 to 5 p.m. You also got my brother Brian Judah. He's got a show Sundays, Rockin' the Rock, Sundays, 12 to 3. Really great show. I'm going to play some of Deb Mangioni's stuff, and I know I'm fucking up her name. Hey, if Ativia is with you, am I pronouncing her name correctly? Like, I can do this live. That's the beautiful thing about the podcast and doing this. And Ed, if you're there and if Ativia is there, run in the fucking basement. Is it Mangione? Is it Mangioni? I know Ativia is going to kick my ass because we had a conversation about it Sunday and my brain just somehow, for whatever reason, with Deb's name cannot get it right. It's like a scratch in the album. Every time my fucking needle hits it, it just bounces back. Much love. I see my mother hanging out there. Always great to see you. You would have been proud of me last. Mangione. Okay, all right. So I'm getting it right. Ta-da. Ed's my man. Brother Chaos. Last night's show, Mom, I played some old Arlo Guthrie and some Buffalo Springfield because I was inspired from Ed and Brian's show on Sunday, framing some of the old dynamics about how music can not only transcend some of the cultural elements, but it does reflect and transcend some of the political elements. So Deb's got some influences from some of that stuff, and I'm going to play some of her stuff tonight, and I think you, my mother, would appreciate it, especially in the dynamic of female musicians and guitar players, because my mom, plays guitar as well, too. She had a fucking oversized Goya that was a go-to bluegrass guitar back in the day when I was a kid. I remember playing that thing, you didn't need an amp for that guitar. That guitar could fill a room with music on its own. Great times, great memories with my mother. Yes, because I can do that. So yeah, Rock the Rock, Sundays 12 to 3, Brother Brian Judah. I also want to shout somebody else out. I was talking to him earlier today. Brother Steve Litzak, the Rock and Roll Rumble show, Saturday afternoons. Brother man is dancing through not but one, but two variants of the cancer. But he's like, listen, he ain't giving in. He's going to fight that shit. And we're going to see him in 2024. We're all pulling for your brother. Much love. I hope you enjoy your holiday. But again, a lot of great programming, rochesterfreeradio.com. You can check the schedule. I do a show Monday nights, coincidentally, and that's that beautiful graphic that Shia made for me. The Music and Magic Show, Mondays, 9 p.m. to midnight, with your host, the old Rochester Free Radio. So yes, there's that. I also want to shout out a couple of events that are going on, and I'm going to save the music stuff for a little bit deeper into the show, but shout out to my sister Jem, Heather Salome, Erica, and everybody else involved with the Mind, Body, Soul Expo. Is going to be December 9, 2023, over at the Saratoga Springs City Center. Going to be a lot of really, really, really cool stuff. Jem, by the way, is also the heart and soul of the Rockin' Oddities elements, which we'll be talking more about as we head into 2024. Jem's going to be sponsoring not only the radio station, but doing some shows and events in Rochester, as well as Saratoga Springs, and eventually all over New York, because that's what Jem wants, and she's going to get what she wants, because that's what we do. I also want to shout out the lovely ladies with Lily and Nona's Emporium. They actually have a Facebook site now with all kinds of cool, groovy stuff. Items created and curated into timeless treasures and handcrafted wonders with style. Facebook.com/Lily and Nona. And coincidentally, and I got to swing back up here. Oh, wait, I think she put it down here. I'm never quite so shy. Does a lot of the promotional creations for stuff. So through market, there we go. Also going on December 9th over here in Rochester, for those of you who are on our side of New York, the Mythical Gateways Fair, Mythic Treasure, is going to be December 9th as well, 1 p.m. to 7 p.m. It's over there, Jefferson Road in the Tops Plaza in Henrietta. Lily and Nona is going to be there. Shai is going to be there. There's going to be a whole bunch of great vendors, readers, healers, all kinds of stuff that Sue has in the shop. An incredible custom skull throne, if you got the kind of money, and a beautiful life-sized wolf, which I wouldn't mind having, but I kind of feel bad because I just want to let him run away. but he ain't. So I guess to some degrees it kind of makes me, but it is what it is. I appreciate what they're trying to do, and we're going to continue. Yeah, it's only $1,000. Not something that I'm going to be able to do anytime in the future. By the way, Rochester Free Radio is a nonprofit radio station on top of it. Next week, I'm going to have Granny Goth Ronci on to talk about her Krampus ball over there at the Photo City Music Hall. Carnival of Horrors, Goth Industrial EDM. It's going to be a pretty cool thing. They've got some Saphira V, Dresden, the Ray Black. Looks like DJ Darkwave, and this is put on by her Medusa group, Ms. Medusa Productions. It's good when you can read. But I'll let Ronci talk about that. I've had her on the show before when she did one of her events last year. She's a really groovy chick and very much trying to put back in, like a lot of us, into these elements. So something, if you're into that type of thing, again, Friday, December 1st. And there's a couple things also, too. And I don't have the promo for it, but I will talk about it because I'm going to talk about Deb. Deb Mangione, Deb and Mike are going to be performing over at the Iron Smoke Distillery in Fairport this Saturday, 3 in the afternoon. It's just going to be an afternoon show. And she's got some really, really cool stuff. I'm going to play some of her stuff along the way a little bit later. But Iron Smoke's putting on some good shows. And I'm going to promo one of those other shows that I actually have it. And we'll make it a point. I'll have Judah or somebody. We'll get with Deb and we'll get better promotions on her show so we can help spread the word. Because she really is just fucking great musician. Really, really inspiring. So we got this Tuesday, December 5th, over at the Iron Smoke. Hollowell's doing a show that's kind of a really neat concept show. It's going to be comedians on one side, and then Hollowell's going to fucking rock it out afterwards. So I'm going to play their promo, one of their tracks, and then grab my sister Gia, bring her back, and we gonna fucking dance. So kick back. Let's hear what Hollowell's got to say.
Hey guys,
it's Teresa,
John, and
Tyler
from Hollowell. We are Hollowell, an original rock band from Rochester, New York, and we've got an exciting show at Fairport's Iron Smoke Distillery on Tuesday, December 5th at 6:30 p.m.
The Inner Loop Blog will get the night started with an awesome lineup of comics sure to make you laugh. Hollowell will then take the stage and rock out with their originals and covers. The show is only $10 at the door. Get ready to laugh out loud and rock with us December 5th.
Come out for a fun night of music, drinks, and laughter. While you're there, you can check out Iron Smoke's great selection of many whiskeys, including their limited release, the Purple Heart Bourbon Whiskey. Check us out at our website, HollowellOfficial.com,
Instagram, Hollowell_the band,
or Facebook at Hollowell Band. We hope to see you
at Iron Smoke Distillery on Tuesday,
December 5th at 6:30 p.m.
Staring death in her eyes. What's it matter? It's just another night. Treat the poison they don't condone. Now I know
So yeah, that was Hollowell and their track No Wings. Again, they're going to be performing December 5th over at the Iron Smoke Distillery. Much love to Tyler, John, and Teresa. Really great people. Really enjoy not only their music, but their energy, their spirit. We've interacted a few times now. I've had them on the show. We all played together October 7th over at the House of Guitars gig. And you'll be seeing them at other shows we'll be doing next year for sure. So I got my sister Gia Gia on the line. Gia, say hello to everybody in the fucking world. All right, everybody's here.
What's up, world? Hell yeah.
So for those of you, again, who don't know, and you probably, if you've been following the podcast, you've seen her pop up a couple times. She was at the Art for Autism show that we did a couple of years ago. She has become one of the witches within the circle, as they say. And as I mentioned in the beginning of the show, she was one of the people who I was originally kind of, going back and forth with in producing and releasing the album that I did. Some of those early tracks, only a couple of people really heard. And Gia also plays some guitar. She does words. She has a really beautiful insight into the human condition. And to be blunt, I trusted her. So I was like, hey, sister, you want to tell me if I'm too far out? And you were, so generous and humble about it. But it did. For me, it helped. And it was kind of where some of our connection, obviously both being into music and stuff like that, but also too, as we talked and, learned, we're both single parents. So we've had to dance some of the same things. So I wanted to kind of start tonight off with, that single parent dance. And I know you have a lot of thoughts about it because you've had to dance it from so many different angles, quite literally, that you've learned along the way.
I've had quite the unique experience, I guess. Like I've had, some parts of it were great in dealing with being single. And then there was parts that were real hard, granted, my son did have his father in his life, most of his life, which was awesome and very helpful. And his father has a good family. But we absolutely have had our issues, but I think it's benefited my son in some ways. I think it's hurt in some ways. My perspective has absolutely changed as I've gotten older. Like now I'm about to be 39 and, I had him when I was 22 and, the learning never stops.
No, it doesn't,
honestly.
does it?
No. And it's unbelievable too. Like sometimes you try your hardest to break certain cycles. But it's like the universe comes in and was like, yeah, your kid needs to learn something like that too.
Well, that is the irony, isn't it? Right? For as much as we tried to protect them, the universe says, fuck that. They need to learn this or it's going to be worse on the other side.
Absolutely. And it's like, I know there was so many decisions that I made based on fear, just because of my own upbringing, my own childhood, that I was determined to do different. And granted, I absolutely conquered them goals, but there was absolutely prices to pay with that. Things I had no idea about, that I had to live through to learn. And, now that I'm older and I can look back, it's like, okay, well, I tried. You know what I mean? Granted,
that's the very definition of wisdom right there. If we're going to be honest about it.
And all you can do is, honestly, as you learn better, do better. Who cares if you had a completely different viewpoint 5 years ago? If you now see it from whether it's a new humble perspective or any kind of perspective, go with that shit. If it's better than what you learned before, because I could tell you who I am today and my perspectives today are not what my perspectives and were at 25 years old, or even 15. It's crazy. It's awesome though.
But you're honest about it, and that's one of the things that I've always loved about you and why you and I have always gotten along. You're not afraid to call certain things out, and you also have made it a point, like I did, to stay connected, not to always frame it that, okay, just because they're younger, they have no thoughts, they have no opinions, they have no insight. You were very much like, I want to make sure that you portrayed it as honestly as you could, even if it meant that it was a little bit uncomfortable or a little bit more challenging. You really,
Absolutely.
a lot of people talk about it, and you and I have joked about this. It's like real easy to fucking say the words, but to actually put it into play is a whole nother fucking ballgame.
Yeah, and there's an incredible amount of self-sacrifice involved, and sometimes you hear it. Like, I remember even hearing when I was young, before I was a mother, people would say, "Oh, you have to sacrifice your life when you have a child," and then like, you really do. You know what I mean? Like, all your interests, all your good times, your chances to go out. Like, when you're a single parent, that shit is either non-existent or it's on a complete back burner, unless you're lucky enough to have a family or
or the resources. Let's be honest. If you've got the cash to burn, you can do anything you fucking want, just about. But
absolutely, but there are so many people that just don't. And there's a lot of people that are mad, like they take it out on their kids, sometimes, which is horrible.
Well, I mean, it is reflective of the generational dynamic that you mentioned, that these things are passed along. Children aren't born this way. It's a conditioned behavior, just as the experiences that you went through, good and bad, as a child, shaped and created many of your narratives. So not only are you carrying your own baggage from the past, now you have a new life, you know what I mean, to balance into the mix, and then everything else. And you and I both know, no matter how hard you try, when a relationship goes sideways for whatever reason, however we find ourselves in the single parent analogy, the shit bleeds over because it's an emotional dynamic. There are elements, obviously, that pertain to conflict and everything else that goes with it. So by default, you have these energies that come into play. So it is a constant juggling act to be like, okay, you don't want to portray certain things certain ways, but you also don't want to be the bad guy or the bad girl in the particular element. But also, too, for you, especially, again, as a woman, there are a lot of things, stereotypes, self-designed, misogynistic, walls that say, hey, you can't do this or you have to be that. So you have to kind of fight multiple battles at once and then not lose your mind in the fucking process.
Absolutely. And, I was determined when I had my son to do right by him, do everything I could to get my life in order so that his life was in order. And it took a long time, and we struggled, we had the homeless thing for a while. We had to live couch to couch. That was really tough. We got, it was not always safe environments, which is why it was so often house to house. It wasn't until, honestly, I got into a whole new industry that I was making better money for less work, that I was able to finally get off the place. And that wasn't until I was 27. And so for 5 years, actually it was 3, we lived with his father until Jake was 2. And then, we ended up kind of living place to place for a little while, for a couple of years there. It was absolutely hard.
but you didn't give up. A lot of people give
absolutely
up.
Not.
Let's be honest about
not.
that. And also too, you know what I mean? You made a very great point. Those sacrifices you made, and you shifted certain dynamics as the lesser evil, because we both know it didn't really help you as much as help the situation, and obviously help your son to create a better foundation and a better life for him. But it was the price that only you could pay.
Right. Like, I mean, part of my sacrifice was, I grew up without a father, and I had a pretty small family that I grew up with, and it hurt me not having my dad in my life. Like, it took me well into my early 30s before I stopped allowing it to, really hurt me as much. And I didn't want that for him. Like, I was determined, no matter what happened between his father and I, that I was never going to talk about his dad in front of him. I'll vent all I want, talk all the shit I feel like it to my friends when it's just me and my friends. However, when my son was younger, whether he was in diapers or not, I didn't care. I wasn't going to talk about his father because
That's where they learn. That's where they learn
Right.
the toxicity
And
elements. Yeah.
and I didn't want to talk about somebody that I knew he loved dearly. You know, he was too young. He didn't need to know the nitty gritty about anything. You know, he didn't need to know about the problems between his father and I. It's not his fault. He didn't ask to be here. And I wasn't going to make him pay for something that wasn't his fault. It was imperative to me that, you know, no matter what happened between Rob and I, that Jake, you know, was okay.
But that's reflective of the sacrifice. That's action. That's
Absolutely.
not words. That's the real deal there.
Right. Well, I mean, like by that, I mean, like his father has a really large family. So, you know, I did allow my son to spend a lot of time with them when they went on. They were a little bit more wealthy than I, so they could afford to do a couple vacations a year and different things, like big family ones. And I'm not the kind of person that's going to stand in the way of my son living a life that I can't provide. I mean, if he's being, you know what I mean? Like, I couldn't do that. How could you? You know what I mean? Like, the way I saw it was, you're going on vacation with like 20 cousins and, you know, 25 adults. Like, live it up. Have a great time.
Well, listen, I mean, that's incredibly humble in that, because you and I have both seen many times, and this isn't just women, this is men and women in these types of scenarios. They become bitter. They become...
Absolutely.
You know, poisoned
Absolutely.
and jaded, and just it, as you said, it carries over onto everyone around them. And then obviously, if you have a child, they're going to be the closest to the blast zone of the insanity.
Absolutely. And it's just I just feel like it's the responsibility of you as a parent because without a doubt, you can be bitter and resentful. Like, don't get me twisted. I had plenty of bitterness for years and resentment for years against his father.
But you channeled it inward. Listen, I know you well enough to know. I know
Absolutely,
what you
I did. Like,
you punished yourself.
Absolutely, I did. You know, and I vented it off to my friends when my son wasn't around, when I was upset or frustrated, or you know what I mean. But like, I'm not going to punish my son for his father. That's not my son's fault. Nothing my son's father has done is my son's fault. You know, like, and I'm just not going to make him pay for it for anything he didn't do. You know, like, it's just not fair. And I'm not going to take my frustrations out on his dad. I want him to love his dad. I want him to respect his dad. And yeah, his dad pisses me off sometimes. It doesn't always, in my opinion, make the best decisions. You know, but I'll never encourage my son to treat his dad badly.
Well, listen, it's the lesser of the two evils. I mean, really, humbly, you know, again, even though, yes, it isn't always in your best interest, you have, as they say, the proverbial high ground, because you're not doing it for you. You're doing it for somebody else. That is true empathy. Right. That is true compassion. You know what I mean? Obviously, you know, the dynamic that, you know, he's your son gives plenty of context to the why. I don't think you need any other reason, you know what I mean, besides that.
Absolutely.
But you guys you have a dynamic now as he's getting older, and I know you've talked about this as well, too, where he gives you insight and perspective, you know, despite all the shit that you have to dance around. And you've been seeing the elements of the struggle for the younger generation now in this fucking craziness that is now. So why don't you dance about that? Because I know you have some definitive feelings about that. So this is the place where you can, you know, if you want to fucking go full tilt boogie on it, you know, just don't use anybody's names, because you don't want the school board filing an injunction against you because you said mean things, and they had to go run back to their fucking safe place and cry. And
well, I mean, the young generation right now is I just so angry. I'm sure a lot of it is actually generational anger. You know, I'm sure they grew up with it. My generation was angry, you know, and it just gets passed down.
Yeah, we were fucking angry too. And listen, I got my brother Ed Contini, who's from Jersey City, old school Italian dynamic. He's fucking angry. I think this has been building up, like you said, for quite some time. My mother, she's fucking angry. She's great, don't get me wrong, but you don't want to meet her on a dark street. You just don't.
Right. I completely get it. And, and a lot of these families have watched, as they've grown up, they've watched their parents and their elders and caretakers struggle and be angry, and even though they didn't know what was going on, they still see it, you still feel it. It gets carried on. We don't mean to do it, but it happens, but the problem is, like, I think this generation, they're just getting ballsier. I don't know. Like, Jake, my son is also, he's dealing with new things now. He just lost one of his friends who was 14 years old, was shot on Halloween night.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. Like, and this happened, I want to say, a literal 5-minute drive from where my son was that night, like, terrifying. And he was a wreck. He was so upset about it, like, for a week, and like,
how could he not be? I mean, again, it is reflective.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? That obviously, in the simplest element, that, when we see these types of things, we should react in that way because it means we actually care. It means we're actually connected. But you've talked about the disconnect element, especially within the older generations, especially when you're dealing with teachers and administrators. They have, for a lot of intent, really just checked out. They don't want to fucking hear it. They don't want to look outside the box. They don't give a shit. They're just coming from these ridiculous angles, like somehow they know better. You know what I mean? And they'll give you that look. You know what I mean? And it's just like, yeah, spend 5 minutes in my fucking shoes and then come back and talk to me about all your book ideas.
There's such a lack of communication between generations, and not only communications, but a level of empathy as well. Because, between generations, everybody's walking in completely different shoes. The people who grew up in the 90s walked totally different paths than those that grew up in the 80s. And those that grew up in the 80s walked totally different paths than those that grew up in the 70s. And those that grew up in the 70s grew up totally different paths that are in the 60s. And I think sometimes people are just, it's so much easier for people to judge and to make a base decision based on an image or whatever.
Well, it's it's a stereotype. Like, you and I both have tattoos. So
absolutely,
they see a tattoo and, one of 1,000 different possible realities now pop into play. But also, like you said, within the degree of the interactions, the kids are becoming less tolerant of things. So they're calling out the people around them, be they adults, teachers, or whatnot, and saying, hey, this doesn't fucking make sense to me.
Right.
I'm not going to just, swallow the Kool-Aid you're going to give me. And then conversely, a lot of the adults are just like, you know what? I don't care what you think. I don't care how you feel. And they're absolutely the worst fucking people to have teaching our children. You know what I mean?
And absolutely. Like, I mean, there's just, I don't know, there's just a lack of understanding. I think there's a lack of wanting to even understand each other, like there is a part of the younger generation that I do have a respect for. And that is, the fact that they're not willing to just be obedient because they're told to. They're not willing to just go into a job and dedicate their life for $13 or $15 an hour.
That's what we were taught. We were taught just, these are the rules. You play by the rules. You get your slice of the American dream. Be happy. Shut the fuck up.
Right. And then on top of that, I can only understand because at least where I'm at, there is no cost of living raise anymore. And like when I worked on the books jobs, it didn't matter really how hard you worked and how dedicated you were, how much overtime you picked up and how well you did throughout the year. You were lucky if you got a 20-cent raise.
Yeah, no doubt.
And before I got into a different industry, like, I never understood what it was I was doing wrong. I thought it was me. I thought, was I not working hard enough and this and that? Like, and I could tell you today with absolute confidence, I was going above and beyond. I should have been getting like a couple bucks. You know what I mean? Like, just like anybody else in the world.
Oh, listen,
should.
this is an old narrative. It goes deep historically, and this has always been the framework of how civilizations, if you want to call it that, have always framed themselves around a bottom-up kind of, framework.
Right.
You have the masses, you know what I mean, who do the work, who clean the clothes, who grow the food,
Right.
who do all the other elements of things, fighting for a slice of survival when you have a very small group. And again, well, listen, right now there's somebody out there right now and be like, those are a bunch of fucking communists. Listen to that communist shit that they're talking. You know what I mean? I'm just like, all right, you know what? No, because we can't even take care of our own. We can't take care of our senior citizens. We can't take care of our veterans. We can't take care of those who, in any given situation that they don't choose, as you said, the children don't choose, that they're forced into these horrible things. We take certain elements of things, and you and I have talked about the elements of misogyny within, domestic abuse, and we don't have a system to help people really. We say, oh, go down to the local shelter, and the local shelters are even fucking worse because they're they're predatory hotspots. So most women, especially within a dynamic of being a single parent with kids, they don't have any real fucking options. It's a joke. We talk about it. And if you're lucky and if you know somebody maybe, or you find that person who has the compassion and humility who will actually do something, but we both know the statistics are just absolutely ridiculous. So we're creating these repeating cycles and just flushing it down the line and then wondering why, like you said, we have a generation now that basically has said, fuck you old people. You know what I mean? You all are being crazy and doing what you want. We're going to do what the fuck we want.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, there's a part of me that absolutely understands their frustration and is with them on that because, nobody should have to go into a job working full time and still leave that full-time job completely suffering, not being able to eat, having to decide between, should I pay the electric or can we eat something other than spaghetti this week? It's just not right. And there's so many people out there that are like, everyone has to start from the bottom and this and that. Yeah, that was the case, 50 years ago, 40 years ago. This is a whole new world. This is not a world made for people that aren't born into at least a well-off home.
No, because even the educational dynamics don't work the same way. You know what I mean? My son, graduated with a college degree, and he's working third shift with a steel company making cranes with his friends because it was the only thing that he could find that would actually pay him close to a living wage, but he has to work fucking third shift to be able to do that, to work his way through. So, it is a dynamic, unfortunately, that is polarized. My mother threw something out here, and she has danced on this end of the spectrum. She says this, part of the reason women with children stay with abusive men.
Yeah, makes sense.
Well, it is a pattern. It is a pattern of fear and control, and obviously, especially if you're dealing with children, if you're not sure you're going to be able, to keep them warm or fed and stuff like that, and I've known a few people, and I've known men as well, too, who have stayed in absolutely ridiculous abusive types of situations simply because it was the lesser evil of what would potentially happen to the kids.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know plenty of men and females in that situation. And it's, there was a period of time where people were conditioned to do that. You were told you stick by, you stay in that relationship for the kids. But when you look back, that was a very toxic thing to tell somebody. I mean,
well, you and I both know it's also framed around the control mechanism. So
absolutely. I mean, you're giving a direct example to your children as to how a relationship should be when you are a family. So if you and the wife or the wife and husband, whatever, are consistently fighting or doing harm to each other, and your kids are there and they see it and they sense the tension that's I mean, that's going to affect them, whether you want to believe it or not. You know what I mean?
Well, it's the same analogy with radiation. It's an energy. So negative energy.
Exactly right.
It's going
Exactly
to,
right.
regardless if it's physical, which the physical is obvious, but there's mental and emotional, and they can
Absolutely.
still translate into physical aspects over time. But you're right. It's a toxin. It's a poison. It is something that, again, is generational. It is learned
Absolutely.
behavior.
But that was also a religious based thing that people told, that was told to people, because, that was, at least from what I grew up.
Oh, same here.
Catholic.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. And that's what it was. You're married and that's it. Good, bad, and different. It doesn't matter. Once you're married, there is no divorce.
Yes, my God has a bigger dick than yours, so therefore.
Yeah, that's terrible advice. Why? You know what I mean? Like, if you're with someone and they're beating the shit out of you or consistently manipulating you, don't fucking stay in that. I mean, what? There's got to be,
Listen, we're moving in directions. There's more conversation about it. You're seeing more organic groups popping up to create systems of support, to make available resources, to try and really, address it from the honest, practical dynamic that, words are great when you have somebody outside of the insanity, because when they're in the insanity, nothing is going to translate correctly. It is,
right.
As my brother Ed would say, it's battlefield triage. You have to stop the fucking bleeding first.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And change the environment, get them out of the fucking war zone to be able to address anything else.
Yeah, and it's just like, and it can be traumatic for people. Sometimes when you're in a traumatic situation, you don't even realize it. Especially when you're in love with somebody, you don't want to just give up. You may think you're doing the right thing by being there or making excuses for this person. But there has to come a point when you have to weigh the good and the bad and say, hey, wait a minute, the bad's starting to outweigh the good here. Do I want to continue this? You know what I mean?
Listen, you set up a great segue. I'm going to cut to a track real quick, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about the drug called love, because listen, you and I both know that energy, any kind of energy, depending upon how it's used, can be bad and it can be good. Love is one of those much more powerful elements, just like anger is, but I think it'll be a great segue. So what we're going to do, I played this last night on the radio show, and it's Dead Man Joni from the Iron Smoke, and it's her doing a performance piece from Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon, and it's her interpretation of Claire Torrey's vocals on The Great Gig in the Sky, which is, anybody who's listened to that album is just this incredible, spiritual even type of experience. So I wanted people to get a taste of her live, what this woman is capable of. Again, she's going to be playing this Saturday, and I believe, again, that is the 25th over at the Iron Smoke. It's going to be around 3 o'clock. Get there 2:30 to be safe. So it's going to be an early afternoon show, but we're going to cut to her version of The Great Gig in the Sky, and then Gia and I will be
direction. And for 1 second, just 1 little second, our eyes meet. And do you know what he did? He winked at me. Yes, he did. He winked at me. And I said to myself, ooh, la, la, what would my mother say? Well, never mind that. I thought, what would my father say? When I was a young girl, there was something my father always used to say to me. Every time I had a situation or a problem, I'd go to him, and he'd look at me and he'd say, Deb, and I'd say, what? He'd say, Deb, if it makes you happy, that's all you need. If it makes you happy, that's all you need. If it makes you happy, that's all you need. If it makes you happy, that's all you need. If it makes you happy, that's all you need. Yeah. I know, it's got to be yourself. It's so much worse than just imagining. It's got to be yourself. Ooh, find me a doctor for the shape that I'm in. It's got to be yourself. It's got to be yourself. It's got to be yourself.
So yeah, welcome back. That was a little bit of Deb's performance again. Pink Floyd's Great Gig in the Sky, and then one of her originals, It's a Sin. Credible voice and really some great stuff. Looking forward to seeing more of her in 2024. Now, as mentioned, Gia and I were talking a little bit while the tracks were playing. Many times, and I've talked about this, the dynamics of perception tend to bleed over into everything. So we see a thing a particular way because we were raised. Somebody said, hey, that's what that is. And then we accept it. And then everything else from there is framed within it. And you made a great statement, Gia, about the emotional variable, love. And, you know, as famously said, love is a drug. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
That emotional variable. And you've seen it, and obviously you've had to dance it as a woman and stuff. But you've also seen the insanity of it, of what it does and how it really carries over into so much, and how so much of it is a fucking illusion. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's just a bunch of bullshit.
Absolutely. I mean, a drug is a great way to put it. It's like wearing blinders sometimes. You just, depending how deep you're in, I mean, sometimes rational thinking will go out the window. I mean, it kind of sucks. It's great in some ways, but
we confuse it. I mean, some of it is the dynamic, obviously, of where sexuality begins, things like passion versus lust versus connection versus sometimes the simple dynamic of just not wanting to be fucking alone. But however it is framed, it's usually, again, within the illusionary narrative. So it becomes toxic. It becomes dangerous. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah, well, especially if, there's so many people that grow up without it. And, believe it or not, like if you grow up in a loveless home, your vision of love is very blurred as an adult, and it takes a lot of time and self-awareness to be able to kind of see it, within yourself. There were so many things I could tell you I thought I had fixed, by the time I was 25, 26, I thought I had overcame so much. And it wasn't until I had my first real heartbreak as an adult in my 30s that not only was I going through that, and I was just so sad that all these emotions that I thought I overcame and that I haven't felt since I was young, all these emotions and these wounds had reopened, and there was such an array of emotion. It was horrible. I guess it was, you could say it was a nervous breakdown at that point, because it was very confusing, and it opened up these wounds that I haven't really thought about or dealt with, that I do have new perspectives, you know, like I can, as an adult, as someone who's almost 40 now, look back and tell you that, you know, there was times in my 20s, my early 20s, like relationships I was in where, you know, the reality of the situation was I didn't know how to accept love. You know, like I wasn't used to that. When people would try to be good to me, there was times it would scare me. And because I didn't know how to handle it, I thought there would be something behind it, or, you know, maybe
you were always looking for the demon in the shadows or the monster under the bed.
Absolutely. And at that time, I didn't know that that's what was happening, or I just knew something didn't seem right. There was a red flag going off, when in reality, it was a green flag. You know, I just didn't really have anyone treat me that way, so I didn't know how to perceive it. You know, but now as an adult, I can look back and be like, okay, that's what that was. You know, it's sometimes, and like one of the things like someone said to me in a past relationship when I was in my 20s that did open my eyes was, he had said, I never met someone who didn't know how to accept love. And I never looked at myself like that, you know? And when he said that, I really thought about it. And I was like, you know, he may not be entirely wrong there. And that's kind of when, you know, that brought a new perspective, an introspective for me, where I started kind of delving deeper into parts of that where, you know, maybe he's not wrong. Maybe I'm so used to being treated a certain way that, because that I knew that person well enough to say, like, that was a good person. He was a good man. So why, when he was being very good to me, that it scared me, you know?
Well, I mean, you've been honest with me, and we don't need to go into all the little gory details, but you obviously had some traumas of your own growing up and within the obvious dynamics that a lot of women go through. And, you know, we obviously both know that, you know, one person's interpretation of love versus another is not always in sync for whatever reason, but there's also obviously the crossover dynamic where elements of things like sexuality become confused as love.
Well, absolutely. And that's what I mean. Like, I had my way of handling things, but there's so many people that handle things differently. Like, you know, there's people who go into hypersexuality because they think that, you know, people that are touching them, that means they want them. That means they, you know, I've met people that handle their own traumas and love in so many different ways. And some I've never understood, some I've never experienced, but I can understand where they're coming from, you know, or why they maybe do what they do. But I don't know. Love is awesome, but it's so fucking scary at the same time.
Again, for you, to some degrees, again, especially as a single parent, you did what a lot of high-functioning empaths do, is you created defensive systems to protect yourself from the obvious elements that you knew. You know what I mean? Nobody was going to convince you that the monsters weren't there because you danced with the fucking monsters. Absolutely. So you were just like, yeah, this shit isn't going to go down like this anymore. Yeah. So you instinctively, and I think naturally to some degrees, you build those walls, you shift your perspectives, if nothing else, to protect yourself from the things that you know obviously can and will fuck you up.
Absolutely. And I definitely think, you know, I was a pretty good mom in a lot of ways to my son. Like, I protected him from a lot of things. I changed a lot. I definitely changed the cycle as far as parent-child relationship, you know, from what I know, because my son and I are very close. I mean, he's pretty open with me. He's pretty honest with me about some things that most parents, I think, would cringe at, you know.
But listen, how you and I have talked about this. How can you realistically expect to help someone if you don't understand someone and have communication with that person? It doesn't matter if it's your child, your romantic partner, your bandmate, any number of analogies. It goes back to the simple dynamic: communication, honesty equals trust. And you
Absolutely.
have to build those dynamics. Trust is not something you go out in the backyard and just, pick off a fucking tree. You have to build it. You have to earn it.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. And that's, I I believe that 100%. Like, that's one of the things I see so often, like on, for example, on Facebook, you'll see, how often do you see on Facebook, like, you just think of a few people off the top of your head that, let's say every 3 to 6 months, they're posting how they're in a new relationship and they're in love and this and that, and we're moving in together and we're getting married, we're engaged.
Oh God,
What?
the social
Like,
the social media quagmire is just like
But that's what I mean. Like, for me, that is it's just so foreign of a concept, because I'm sorry, my chest is just not easily given. My shit is earned. My loyalty is earned. My trust is earned. That is not just something you get because you have a sexual interest in me. Like, absolutely not. You're out of your mind, dude.
Well, you've learned, and you said it yourself, you've evolved and matured to the degree that you recognize the illusion for what it is, because all of these elements, regardless if they're real or not, they change, in any given moment. And if that's all you have, really, if all you have is a sexual dynamic, you really don't have fucking anything.
Yeah, you're 100% right, because, that's not something that's going to last forever for anybody.
It's not going to last long at all,
No, it's not. No.
because again, if you don't have the community, listen, again, it's a redundant, spin. I also know you have taken an approach that I have used, and it's one of the reasons that you and I get along, because we both have very dark sense of humor. So you use the sanity, I guess, the only other way to frame it, to kind of really make some commentaries without having to be like, asshole number A and really. So you make them more of a generic, okay, I'm just going to kind of throw this out here. And if it makes you feel a particular way, then yeah, it was probably fucking about you, but without having to obviously invite the fucking deeper crazy in. So I'm going to pull one up on, and we're going to have a quick one. And I'm just going to set the scenario, we have here now for you folks at home. Those of you who can watch will be able to see it, but those of you listening, you've got what appears to be a Tinder ad with a slightly not so old Bill, 33. He's 91 miles away. And Bill's Tinder profile basically goes like this. I like curvy girls. I have a dog. Her name is Precious. She's my world. My hobbies include midnight strolls, collecting insects, kind of nerdy, but it's what I'm into. Making my own clothing and dancing when nobody's looking. Dry skin is a deal breaker. By the way, I love Bath and Body Works for the sole reason that their lotion comes in a basket. I date me. Now, for those of you playing Clue, this is obviously the Silence of the Lambs, the Buffalo Bill analogy, but framed in the way that the meme is. It obviously has a definitive type of, hey, these fucking idiots that are out there, just surfing, for that connection. A lot of times, it's Buffalo Bill hiding in a dark basement, ready to wear your skin. And that's the truth out there. So much of this, again, it goes back to the illusion, but sometimes the illusion's a fucking, it's a monster wearing, a nice guy suit.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that, I don't know, their people are just terrifying, dude. In my opinion, I'm telling you, dude, I'm going to just be that old coot that like lives in the woods, that people are a little nervous to be near her property because she's kind of freaky. Yeah, that's going to be
also
me.
Because you know witchcraft as well, too. So you're literally going to be that woman. Like, I'll fucking curse you, you little bastards.
Like, because it just gets harder and harder to trust people, I swear to God. Like, people just get weirder and weirder. And although there's a sense of that I absolutely adore, because I'm weird myself. But there's just, there's.
Well, listen, you're not inviting people. You're not inviting people in to wear their skin.
Right, like, there's
what I mean?
Fun weird, and then there's that real creepy, get the fuck away from me weird.
Right.
Like. I'm the more fun, quirky, fucking just outspoken weird.
Well,
you know,
you've honed it to a science because I know, again,
I have.
You've
man.
had to in many ways. So you read
I have.
energy like a lot of us do. So you can spot that shit a mile away, and it doesn't matter in whatever particular context it plays itself out. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
You're also very gracious, and you understand the narrative that sometimes it's not, about what's real. It's about the perception. So you know how to find other more casual ways to kind of, exit stage left and, hey, nice to see you, but my name's Bob and this is over, and,
Yeah.
split out the way. But obviously, again, you've had your fair share of, I guess the Nigerian, prince mongers. It's just like, come on, baby, love me, take me away. You're just like, no.
Yeah, I've had my share, and I'm just, I guess, I don't know. I lay low. I'm not even on the scene. I'm actually been seeing someone who's actually been incredibly awesome to me and insanely understanding I've had this has been a very spiritually and so many other angles, like transitional type year for me. In so many new ways. I've had things from my past resurface that I had no idea were coming to me that I've had to sort through. My son has had all kinds of his own transformative things going on this year that I'm helping him with and trying to manage my own self.
Listen, he's trying to get himself through a fucking broken system.
Absolutely.
Let's really call it for what it is.
Yeah, and he's 16, and I mean that's a hard age. I mean, it just is. Like, so I'm trying to make sure I'm a safe space for him, with whatever he's going through, and meanwhile dealing with my own shit as well, as we all are, but
yeah, that fun never ends.
it doesn't. It doesn't.
The universe keeps us on our toes, right?
Yeah, it sure does.
So let's talk about cats. The next one that I've got up here is one of yours. And again, these are all pulled from your page, so you're to blame, basically, for this content. If you want to send hate mail to wolf@oldwolfmusic.com, I'll make sure it's forwarded to Gia. So basically, it's how to speak cat, meow, and other ways cats say, fuck you.
Well, when I saw it, my cat is awesome, but he is such a dickhead. I mean, he just hates humans. Let me rephrase it. He doesn't like adults, but he doesn't mind kids, and he does not mind other animals. But he fucking hates adults. He's rude to everyone that comes in here, and everyone that has come and met him will tell you that my cat has absolutely said "fuck you" to them in cat language. Like, so,
listen, I got 3 cats here, and Shia's 2 cats regularly tell me to go fuck myself and all kinds of other horrible shit on a daily basis. So I get it. And it's even worse because I'm a wolf. So there's a sense of, ego crushing defeat. And just like in any other scenario, you would be a fucking chew toy. But because I don't want to piss off the woman that I love, I gotta play nice with these fucking animals. So
yeah, and I have 2 cats, and the other one is just as sassy, but not as in your face with her "fuck you" meows, But Charlie,
but you're into animals. Yeah. Listen, I've seen you with pictures with
do love animals.
Squirrels and raccoons and all kinds of stuff. You have a deep connection with, animals, with that end of the spectrum.
I do love animals. I don't know. I just
you like them more than you do people. We already know that.
I do. I do. Even if I have gotten my share of little nips and bites from them, and even during that, I still love them more than most human beings. I'm telling you, I don't know. Animals are just awesome. I mean, they're just great.
So there's a connection. There's an empathy, and also, within the simplest framework, animals are simpler. You know what I mean? There's a much easier flow of interaction. Don't get me wrong. When you have to clean up shit, you're still having to clean up shit no matter the context of that scenario. But
there's just something special about it when, especially when it comes to a wildlife animal, like a non-typically domesticated animal, and even domesticated animals, don't get me wrong. But like any animal really, like there's just something special about when you have that something with an animal and they trust you and you know it and you trust them and, it's cool. I don't know a proper word to put it into, like, dude, waking up and having my coffee and cuddling with a raccoon was fucking awesome.
nice.
You know what I'm saying? Like I've done that a few times. I woke up and I've cuddled with a baby deer, and it was awesome. And
No, listen,
they were just licking.
it's great stuff. I mean, really, listen, and it's honest because it's something that you feel and you believe in. So to be able to experience it, it's what I call real magic. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And it's something about, I guess, because when you have that connection with an animal, it's so pure. Whereas with a human, it's just different. You don't know if someone's intent is pure. And especially if you're someone who has been betrayed several times or have had trauma due to another person's actions or whatever. It's just different. It makes it harder to trust or to feel the connection.
Well, listen, let's be really honest.
Right away.
You can dump all your baggage and secrets and horrible shit to your animal, and you don't ever have to worry about your animal running down the street and being like, did you hear what Gia did?
Right.
You know what I mean? So there are some basic
that's what
types
I
of things
mean.
that are like, they're great therapy elements because you can just go anywhere you want. And it ain't going, they may give you that look and say, hey, fuck you, feed me.
Yeah,
I'm not your therapist. I'm not paid for that. But in some ways it is the trade-off. It's like, okay, I give you a home, I give you food, you got to listen to me. And then, over time you can build the bond. Sometimes they can be assholes. They have their own personalities. I mean,
absolutely they do. Absolutely they do. Like, and it's so funny when you start to work around animals and you're around them more often, how you really see how they really do have their own personalities, whether it's squirrels, foxes, raccoons, deer. Like, it doesn't matter if it's dogs, cats, mice. Like, you learn that these lives really do have their own personality. They have emotion, and as you spend more time with them, it becomes clear.
And they reflect things that are reflective of us. Things like fear and trauma.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And you
Absolutely.
can read it. You can see it in their behaviors, their interactions, and things. But you also can enjoy the other side of that coin. A lot of love, there's laughter, playfulness, curiosity.
Absolutely.
There's a deeper connection that can be had to some degrees.
Oh yeah, and it's so cool, and it's something, honestly, I think everyone should get to experience because it's just different.
Do you have any do you have any particular group that you work with that you want to shout out and turn people on to?
Yeah, I typically help out at the Pocono Wildlife Center in Stroudsburg, PA. It's the Wilders with a Z that run it. Two of my good friends run that. And they're awesome.
Nice.
To completely donation based. So any help, that anybody wants to ever.
Well, listen, shoot us out some information, and we'll do our best to road it through. Because listen, these are the little things, and you and I have talked about this, and Shai has talked about this over these past couple of years. And again, ironically, it's where we met was within the elements of the Under My Skin for Life Foundation. That what we do really defines who we are. Again, you teach a parrot to recite shit, and it doesn't fucking mean a thing. It's what we do that defines us, and you've always been, really on point with that. And, again, also, too, to be blunt, your dynamic, honesty, you don't pull any punches with it. You don't pretend. And, as you said, if you don't take me, as it is, then you can go fuck yourself,
Yeah,
so,
pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, fuck it. I'm not going to walk. Why should anybody have to walk on eggshells?
Shouldn't.
Like that. What kind of life is that?
Nope.
It's not right.
But that ironically brings us to our final Gia meme. And this is the one that really spoke to me. Okay. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, this is a good one.
And for those of you who can't see it, it's a kind of black and white cartoon caption. And the top says, "How do I feel about my shadow now that we are friends?" And the bottom of the caption is, "Oh, he's with me. He's my emotional support demon." Now, I have a little, this is what we call now here in the house, the Shia button. So be prepared for this.
Emotional damage.
So you'll have to probably go home and experience that one in its full glory. But you obviously, and I know because I do this too, I dance within the shadows and I use some of that darker elements to reflect it because it's better than fucking drowning in it. You know what I mean? So it has to go someplace sometimes.
I mean, man, sometimes when you're deep in that water, it's like, or those demons are like weighing heavy on your shoulders and you can't ignore them. Fucking learn how to laugh with them, man.
Yeah,
Because
dance with them.
Exactly. I'd rather be able to look at my bullshit and laugh at it than completely spend my whole life dwelling on things I cannot change or cannot control, or a war that ended 25 years ago for me. You know what I mean? Like, if I can't laugh about it, dude, we ain't got laughter. What do you got? Like,
well, it's also therapeutic. You know, it is a counter to the negative energy because we all carry, and you called it aptly for what it was. We carry scars from those wounds, and sometimes wounds can be reopened depending upon how deep they are.
Yeah.
So, regardless of whatever name you want to kind of frame it, these elements, the shadows, the demons, the darkness and stuff, they are born of these traumas and these experiences. And, like it or not, they're part of who we are. Sometimes they become actually the keys to becoming better people because now we recognize and be like, well, that's some really fucking bullshit behavior. So I got to make sure that I never am like that. You know what I mean? So sometimes you get a blueprint to say, hey, don't be like Bob.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Like, there's definitely, there was part of me that even growing up, I didn't want to be like, I was determined not to be like my parents. So I went the complete opposite way. You know what I mean? Like, maybe even too much. Like,
yeah, no, I've had this conversation with my mother. I did exactly the same fucking thing.
Yeah, and then you get to a point. Yeah, you get to a point where you're like, okay, wait a minute. You know what I mean? Like, let me reel myself back in because I feel like this behavior is, you're growing out of it. Or, you know what I mean? Like, who knows? There's so many people that go into adulthood with survival traits and behaviors. And even though they're not in the situation anymore, those invisible chains, man, they're still there. And sometimes it takes a while for that, a person to be able to see it within themselves. Like, yo, I don't have to do that no more. Right. Like, I don't have to feel this way.
And sometimes it frames everything else. I threw up a meme earlier because, one of the things that have been driving me absolutely batshit lately is this dynamic framework that, because somebody has trauma, that this somehow justifies shitty behavior, that, or I'm going to create more traumas. And the meme was basically, hey, don't call me out, on my behavior. I have traumas. And it's just like, your traumas are not an excuse to inflict upon everybody else. It's like, handle your fucking shit, goddammit, and don't get me wrong, I don't want to seem insensitive, but there comes a point.
Absolutely, there's a level of self-responsibility that everybody has to have. We all have our stories, some are obviously heavier than others, but it isn't an excuse throughout adulthood. And if you feel like you can't, if you find that every time you're in a specific place or a specific situation that you tend to get in trouble or get in, a fight or this or that, like, it is on you to be like, you know what? I'm noticing the pattern. Let me back the fuck off that place for a while. Figure out, what it is I gotta fix. And then, you know what I mean? Like, don't put yourself in the situation. Sometimes you just have to do that.
But
like, at least that's how I find. Like,
it's the carryover. You know this from having to dance at the schools and some of the other things that you have to work around, that other people's bullshit, they just bring it in full tilt boogie, and they're just like, hi, I'm going to share this with you, and you got to smell it, taste it, eat it, and everything like that, even though, like, hey, I didn't fucking order this. I didn't get a memo that said, hey, how do you feel? And we're constantly having to compensate for those things, and especially when you're dealing with an element, again, AKA a school system within certain perspectives of things. And it's just like, is anybody here even going to talk about the facts, or are we all just going to kind of pontificate about something somebody wrote in a book 45 years ago that never had children in the first place?
Right. There should be every X amount of years, you got to look at what's important and adjust the learning to that. Like, half the things you need to learn or know in adult life, you don't even learn in school. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make sense.
But there's also a bit of a narrative. You and I came up through a degree that, it was, you could call people out. You could be like, hey, don't pull your dick out. That's bad. And now everything's kind of polarized. Everybody's just like, well, we don't want to talk about that. Everybody's, and we're just like, wait a minute. We used to be able to kind of find some of those middle grounds with those elements. And then again, now it becomes more of the me. You don't count, like every one of those crazy Walmart videos with, somebody, literally trying to kill somebody over a fucking parking spot, or, what I mean?
I posted a good Walmart one like a week ago. It was hysterical. Like a Walmart reel of people going crazy. It was so funny.
But that shit's contagious.
It is. Holiday season's coming.
Yeah, no, you read my mind. I just like
this is when Walmart gets real spicy.
Right. Oh, especially with those deals. Somebody, listen, I hate to say it, it's probably going to sound horrible, but like, I expect somebody to die every fucking year. I see a story from somewhere that one of these fucking mass Black Friday fucking insanities ends up with somebody dead.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be scary. It only gets crazier every year.
Yeah, I don't play that game. I'm like, fuck that. I'm not doing it.
I personally do all my shopping online because I avoid the stores at all costs during the holiday season.
I mean, isn't that ironic? Like, again, remember we grew up on the old movies like Miracle on 34th Street and all these beautiful scenes where people go to the stores and it's loving and Santa Claus and it's just there's like angels singing in the air. They're like, la la la. Now you're worried you're going to get fucking carjacked. Somebody's going to snatch your purse. They're going to grab your identity off your fucking credit card. They're going to step on you, breathe on you, and it's just like, who the fuck wants to deal with it?
Right. Yeah.
See, that's why my segue was that's why we have to have emotional support demons, because you have to have one to let loose when you go out there, because you never know what the fuck you're going to end up dealing with.
Yeah. And not to mention the traffic around this time of year. I don't know what it gets like for you guys, but where I'm at,
fucking traffic sucks everywhere.
Oh man, like, dude, from like Thanksgiving till the like New Year's, traffic just sucks every day. You're like, go back to your home state.
Well, listen, some of this is, as we said, the universe is basically saying, listen, I can only do so much. I know they're a bunch of assholes, but trust me, I'll get them around the corner at some point. You might not be there to see it, but trust me, I got you. So some of it is just, having faith. But listen, some of it also too, and you're a big proponent of this, we have to do the work ourselves too. We can't just sit there and just expect that, the magic dust is just going to float in and everything's just going to somehow fucking change. You know what I mean? So
there's definitely work. There's definitely work involved, all the time. Self-improvement should never stop.
Amen. Listen, that is a great point to leave it on. I want to thank you again for taking the time. We're going to get you up here in 2024 because, again, it's been a little while since we've seen each other, but I know Shy is insistent, and I know the other girls are definitely, they're weaving their magic spells. The cauldrons are out. It's a bunch of witchy shit. I don't pretend to even, but I just
count me in.
Yeah, no, listen, I know you're down on it. So we'll definitely make it a point. And we're going to have you back because you do a lot of really cool art stuff, but I know you're not ready to really get into that spectrum, but I do want you to come back and talk about that. And
absolutely.
And obviously, in the framework at some point, I'll get you back on that guitar. Get you, because I know you are your own worst enemy, sister. You're just like, oh, it's not good enough. It's not good enough.
I know.
It is. Trust me.
I'm working on it.
It's all context. Listen, this is half the battle. It's the perspective dance. And sometimes it requires, this is the strength in numbers analogy. It requires other people to remind us that our perspective a lot of times is what's fucked up. You know what I mean? Yeah. So we have to be able to see it through other people. And especially if it's framed with love and support and, honesty. I mean, don't get me wrong. If you float some shit out there, I'm going to be like, honey, no, that looks like a big steaming turd. And, unless that's you want to go the Andy Warhol way and you're just going to be, or like Yoko Ono and just, you're going to do a performance piece where Gia is going to go on stage and take a shit in a bucket and call it art and sell it for a lot of money.
Hey, you never know.
Right? I'm giving you ideas now.
Hey, there's people into that shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
That is the irony. Yes, that was actually born out of a little joke with the members of Hollowell, because they're doing a show and we were talking about some of the elements of, alternative music and, some of the things that blur the lines. And it was a segue thing off the supposed new bullshit Beatle track that just got released from the graves of the dead Beatles. But long story short, it was like the only person that could have signed off on that was fucking Yoko Ono. She's the one who owns the rights to, Lennon stuff. So someplace, she's like, yeah, I'll take the money. He's dead. Who the fuck cares? But we kind of segue into a joke, basically, that with the type of art and the insanity that she's done through the years, she should just basically go out on stage. You get a nice big bucket. You mic it up. We got all these neat electronic devices and consoles and stuff, and you wire it all in, and it'll be like a big fucking EDM light show. And she just literally goes on stage and shits in the bucket. And everybody just rocks and dances and gets fucked up, and that's the show. So what do you think?
You know what? I wouldn't go. I wouldn't personally go, but I'm not gonna knock those that do. Like, hey, whatever floats your boat, man.
But listen, these are the darker elements of things. This is sometimes the way we can segue humor with the horror of especially for me growing up on the Beatles, seeing this bastardization just get floated out there, as a corporate money grab. So, hey, they're dead, but we magically somehow pieced a whole bunch of shit together and we're going to sell it to you at a discounted price, by the way.
Yeah, it's a little weird. It's a lot of weird. You know what I mean? Like,
it is a steaming pile of fucking Yoko, because he really is not, and again, anybody that's a fan, and I hate to say it, and, as a musician, I'm kind of getting tired of it. A lot of these people who humbly, I don't see why you need the fucking money that you have to bastardize this, and try and, shove it down to people like it's somehow, not only is it not real, it's, I think, distasteful in many ways. There's enough stuff out there that, if you want to put it out there and say, hey, here's some unreleased John Lennon stuff, don't fucking call it the Beatles. Don't exploit it. And then, have people have to, it's the same analogy I made, some of these older rock bands that are going out there and they're bringing track stuff. So they're standing there, they're doing like the fucking Spinal Tap Milli Vanilli show, and they're charging $400 a fucking ticket. You know what I mean?
Insane.
Insane is the word.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, the ticket companies are hiding from the Senate inquiries. They're like, we didn't do nothing. We don't know nothing. They're like, well, you're the one that controls the money. Well, no. So everybody's just running around like a bunch of fucking hyperactive children and, trying to figure out who fucking broke the window. And, it doesn't help anything within the scene. And those scenes reflect, be it art, writers, all people within the arts are constantly having to fight this beast, the balance between survival and, finding some element that's actually true to what it is that you want to do.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. It's kind of a weird journey.
Yeah, and it's just one of the ones, and this from dealing, with an organization that's a nonprofit. when everything is so bastardized and corporatized, it's really hard to get actual things that need to get done. You know what I mean? So you're constantly having to struggle through the perception. You have to cut through the rhetoric and stuff. And it doesn't matter, again, how it's being approached, because, you know, you've been to a lot of shows, you know, the dynamics. You know, it's a lot of pay to play. It's a lot of insanity for very little return.
Yeah, it's a shame. I mean, how many artists get screwed? It's unbelievable. A lot of times the artists are the only ones not even paid.
Yeah, truly. And
they're the ones doing the work.
Right. Well, listen, again, I really appreciate you taking the time. Give your son our best and stuff. Hey, listen, if you want to drag him out here, if he's got some stuff, you know, something new that he thinks needs to be put on the scene.
Absolutely.
Yeah, tell him the Wolf has got him. We'll bring him out here and
all right,
get him some notoriety. You know what I mean? But we'll put him under one of those, like those filter screens, and, you know, make his voice sound like Darth Vader and stuff. So that way nobody can go back and fuck with him.
Yeah, I like it. I don't like it too.
Listen, I love you, sister, and we will talk to you soon.
I love you too. Absolutely, man. Have a good one. Thanks for calling.
You too.
All right, later.
So yeah, that was a little dancing with my sister Gia. And again, we all have emotional support demons, whether you realize it or not. They visit you in the dark of night. Sometimes when you're standing, looking at that refrigerator, debating that last slice of cheesecake. Should you do it? That's the fucking demon. Okay. Demons come in many shapes or forms. It's just, again, the word. I talk about this all the time, language. So much of it gets lost in translation. And, you know, sometimes it's also the perspective of dynamic. You know, I talk about this jokingly, but it is a very serious element. The Contini context is real. It goes to the simple element that, depending upon particular variables, not everything is the same in these different moments. So for people, their perspectives, all these different little nuances changes certain narratives that we have been conditioned to, one way or another, to accept as gospel. And it's just not really how it fucking works. Certain things, obviously, and I'm not going to waste the time, you know, doing the semantical dance about, well, what about, yes, of course, there are always exceptions to the rules. You know what I mean? I will go publicly on record and say that there is no contextual variation where I will support the fucking of horses, okay? I don't believe in bestiality. I think it's fucked up. I don't want to have to go anything more into it and say, hey, listen, if you want that one as your extreme analogy, fine, take it. Okay? We get the point. But we have to have better conversations, and we have to, you know, get past, again, some of the breakdown, proverbially, the communication breakdown that happens. So that's why I love doing these particular dances, especially with people that I know and I trust. And Gia is one of those people. So much love to you, sister. So I'm going to dip this back around into some music. Okay. Now, this is a dual-sided element. Okay. And it's bittersweet, but it's also hopeful in a way. And I'll explain the story in the best element that I can. Year or so ago, I wrote a song, did a track with some of the people that I work with for somebody that I've known for many years. And those of you that follow my music know that track is Mama Rocks. Rocks is a real person. Okay. The video is dedicated to her daughter. It really is her daughter. Her daughter was shot and murdered some years ago. And I told Mama Rocks, you know what I mean, to honor the spirit of it as one parent to another. You know what I mean? That I would help try and keep that alive because it's important to her. And conversely, on the flip side, Mama is down in Florida with her cousins, and they just happen to, you know, have some musical interests. So we talked, and I pulled it out. So we're going to do a back-to-back. We're going to do Mama Rocks, the video, the memorial for Destiny. And then we're going to frame it with the future. Joseph Galpo, Gregory Galpo, and Greg Galpo Jr. The band Hazardous. These guys are actually some really cool guys. We kind of had like the mass conversation the other night when Rox was there. And they're into what they do. You know what I mean? They're old school musicians. You know what I mean? They're not really so much interested on the corporate bullshit stupidity. They're just like, we want to fucking rock. We don't want to have to deal with this stuff. This is the shitty reality of the scene. So here's me doing my part, old school Brooklyn context for Rocks. I'm going to take care of your cousins. I'm going to try and get them a little promotion. Obviously, certain dynamics, like this particular track, is not one that I can play on FM radio. But I'm happy to play it here on the fucking podcast. It's not a bad track at all. It's actually pretty cool. I enjoyed it. So thank you guys. Thank you, Hazardous, for that. And looking forward to seeing you guys do some other stuff. So we're going to take a quick break with Mama Rocks and then a little bit of Hazardous Road Rage. And then we'll be back.
Hey mama, let us show you all the things you have forgotten. The things you have forgotten. It wasn't so long ago. We all danced around the fire. Stories to the children, laughing with their wonder. Mama Rocks, remember who you are. Don't let them bring you down. See the way we see you still. The magic is in your heart. Your destiny will carry with you. In the arms of a mother. It's simple, don't you see? The question was always the answer. Hey mama, let us give you all the dreams you have forgotten. Lost amongst the memories of the things you desire. The power of a smile made stronger with your laughter, with your laughter, with your laughter. Mama Rocks, remember who you are. Don't let them bring you down. Say the way we say you still. The magic is in your heart. Your destiny will carry with you. In the arms of a mother. It's simple, don't you say the question was always the answer. Hey mama, let me show you all the things. Hey mama, let's give you all the tricks. Mama rocks, remember who you are. Don't let them bring you down. If you could only say the way we say you still, the magic is in your heart. Your destiny will carry with you in the arms of a mother. It's simple, don't you say the question was always the answer. Things you have forgotten. This time will give you a seed. So let's dance around the fire. So let's dance around the fire. stupid motherfuckers!
Road rage. Hang the fuck up and drive.
So yeah, that was hazardous. Those are the boys down there taking care of my sister Rocks. Much love to you guys. So I'm going to take a different perspective right now. Okay. I'm going to introduce a new element. Okay. As they say. And there's a reason for it, because one of the things that I hear a lot about is this means this, or this means that. So I am the wolf, and I'm going to bring you some translated wisdom. Okay? This type of music is influenced from what Gia was talking about, from a lot of that anger and disconnect from some of the bullshit that we all have to deal with on an everyday basis. And I'm pretty sure that most people have been in a situation when they have been out on the road where somebody does something fucking stupid and you want to lose your mind. You have those feelings, you have those visions of murder and chaos and mayhem. Much love to my brothers Brian Judah and Jack Steinley, by the way, who I see just jumped in. They both know what the fuck I'm talking about. Okay? So these elements happen. Now, 99% of the time, none of us act on it because we try and be better people. Some of us try and be better wolves, but you get the point. We don't necessarily act out on light. Now, the brothers there, what they did is, instead of allowing it to translate into a situation where something stupid and they are having to kill fucking somebody, they put it into a song. They took it and they translated what we're all fucking feeling. They're saying what everybody's afraid to say. Yes, you stupid motherfucker. Oh my God, where the fuck did you get that? Is a fucking Cracker Jack box? Really? Really? Can you even count? Okay, we've all had these moments. So they're saying everything that you want to say, and they're saying it in a way that is, and this is the part that I respect, honest. They're saying it, okay? They're not actually doing it, okay? They're not telling your children to go out and kill people. They're expressing an emotion in a healthy way. This, okay, is the new face of therapy. So I'm going to jump to another band that I really like. I met them at the Rockin' Oddities show, Halloween weekend. This band is Alloy Rain, and those brothers over there, really great guys. Really enjoyed my interactions with them. Looking forward to seeing some of the stuff that they're going to continue to do. And in keeping with the spirit, yeah, I'm doing a little bit of metal now. It happens. This is a little bit of their interpretation on Krampus, Alloy Rain, and then, yeah, I'll come back and we'll keep the show going.
Shrouded outlines shall soon bear witness. We ride together. of cloven hooves draws near. They made glowing eyes, its moon grasp tightly. It bears a sack, wool of dread and sorrow. The misbehaved shall be in hell tomorrow. So heed thy warning, and if you pray, this devilish figure for crimson and black shall pass you by for being children. Do not end up in his sack.
Ah, yes, the true spirit of the holidays. See, this to me just really warms this wolf's heart. I really, really love the visual dynamics because it cuts to an element. And we were talking about it at that show a little bit outside that, you know, so much of this is, you know, been bastardized and commercialized and just spun into this fucking absolute bullshit narrative. Yeah, you know what I mean? And it goes back to the old lore, you better be good for goodness sake. Because the original analogy is fucking Krampus came out and took your fucking dirty little fucking ass straight to hell. Okay? You didn't even have to worry about fucking colored presents, man. You're going fucking straight to hell, man. That was the narrative. You know what I mean? So obviously we've toned it down and, you know, we got candy canes now. See? Aren't we special? Big shout out to my sister Lee and brother Derek, if you guys are both hanging in there. The force is strong in that one. Yes, I get to do little things like that because it's my fucking show. But much love. There's some great people. I got to get brother Derek back on the show. He and I got to dance again. It was a lot of fucking fun, and I think it's worth repeating multiple times. So, yeah, 2024, we definitely got to get you back out here soon, my friend. So, again, as I've been known to do, you know, sometimes I get into conversations and they'll go on a little bit longer than maybe we originally planned, but I don't like putting too heavy a scripting, you know, especially in the framework of somebody who's my friend. You know, I want them to feel comfortable. I want them to talk about what's important to them, and hopefully some of that translates down, as has been said and will be continued to be said. Take what you need, leave the rest behind. You don't have to subscribe to everything. You don't have to buy into all of it. But, you know, if something speaks to you, maybe there's a fucking reason. Okay? And yes, name the time and place and he will be ready. All right, definitely. I'm gonna look at my calendar after the Thanksgiving throughway accident that's gonna happen. I'm gonna try and be good, but inevitably these types of holidays always fuck me up. So I'm gonna strive. I think I got a lot of Ed's anger, so I think I'm gonna go kill a fucking turkey. I think that's probably the best solution for everybody. But hey, that's just me. So I want to talk about another band that I talk about a lot. They're really great people. I consider them friends. My brother Josh, the guitar player for Bonded by Darkness, is a really groovy guy. His girl Raven, really, really beautiful person. And incredibly gifted singer and witch. Okay. He and I share a similar dynamic. You know, that earlier track, Mama Rocks, my son worked on with me. He played some of the elements within it and helped me fine tune the words and produced the whole thing because he knew how important it was, and he knew Rox, and Rox knows my boys, and you know, these are the circles that bind us, even when things go fucking sideways or whatever reason. You know, it is what it is. We still try and do our part. But Josh and his son make music together, which again, you know, to me is incredibly fucking magical. So they got a new release on a video that they just made from one of their tracks from the Obsidian album. Really looking forward to trying to get them up here for 2024. I'm going to pair them with Frail, another band. Both these bands are right across the border here in Ohio. Hashtag Witch Doom, hashtag Ass Blistering Metal. So I'm going to double pop real quick. Well, not real quick. You know, we're going to enjoy some fucking video and music because this is a really cool track. And it's a really cool video that these guys did. I really appreciate what they bring to the table. So sit back and enjoy a little bit of Bonded by Darkness and a little bit of Frail. And then, yeah, you know, if everybody wants to keep hanging out, we're heading into the fucking holidays, you know, Thanksgiving, all that. We're gonna keep going. So yeah, I can do that. So Bonded by Darkness, Frail, and then we'll be back. So yeah, that was a little bit of Frail there and Burn. And before that, Bonded by Darkness's new video release for Hellbound. Really cool video. Really, really liked the home brewed dynamic. It's the power of ritual. Listen, and you know, when you know the people and you know the element of the authenticity that they bring, makes it all the more powerful. So again, I want to thank my sister for taking the time. There she is, just letting everybody know how she feels. Yep, that middle finger right there says it all. Fuck you. But it's a loving fuck you. Been a lot of fucks tonight. But that's a good thing. So I want to thank everybody again for taking the time to hang out. We'll be back next Tuesday with some stuff. Have a great Thanksgiving. For those of you who do celebrate, try and find something to the best of your ability. There's always something to be grateful for, something that means something. If you'd like to come on the show, if you got some music you want to submit, some art, some poetry, some whatever, Wolf at oldwolfmusic.com. Shy is going to be back tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for her Dancing with Witches. They're going to do some tarot. They're going to do some this. They're going to do some Reiki. They're going to do some crystals. There's going to be some fucking shit going on. Yeah. So come on back, hang out. Bunch of great shows. You can check me out, rochesterfreeradio.com, oldwolfmusic.com, ladyshia.com. For anybody out there that has ever wondered what it's like to get a reading from a wolf, something I've been known to do. Something to think about. Much love to everybody. Enjoy your holiday. And until next time, I am the Old Wolf.
If I could turn back time die. Days go by, years go